Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join me and my guest, Scott Orr, on Leadership Synergized. This is where we take time to discuss lessons learned, life successes, life significance, and also failures from those who have been there, done that, tried this, learned something else in their path of maturation in life. We lead, we live at our best when we're still. My good friend Scott Orr has agreed to join us for a second episode here. Hopefully you've had a chance to view and or listen to Scott with last week's episode. And Scott, my friend, welcome back. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so appreciative that you would take this time to join us for these two episodes.
Kevin, thank you. And I appreciate you asking me to come back, because that doesn't always happen.
The phone line's always open, so to speak, in that regard, but you're always welcome, my friend. In last week's episode, we talked about what we've learned and some of the positive experiences we've had with the Maxwell leadership team and the value John Maxwell and his books and his writings and his career and now his leadership team and his coaches and mentors have brought to us. We talked about your 38-year career a bit as a leader in the financial services industry. I want to pick right up where we left off. Last week, we talked about that fun environment you had where you had identified the financial services office in Southern Florida that you had spent time with. And you talked about some of the things that the team did to be successful. That while there was competition, there was stress, that you were challenged with maintaining a focus to ensure that it didn't become counterproductive within the office. And one of the things that sometimes is difficult as leaders when we get pulled in to task-oriented things while continuing to own the responsibility to lead and to develop the people in our organization, we lose sight of needing to maintain the hand on the pulse of the climate, the culture, which really tells a leader, in my experience, whether or not the organization is continuing to live the vision. Share your best practices, maybe some learnings, some successes, or a failure or two in that regard. How have you been able to be successful in your career with understanding the pulse of the organization as it related to living the vision?
First and foremost, Kevin, is surrounding yourself with good people. Surrounding yourself with people that support you and have your same vision of how an office can run. And that's probably one of the most difficult things you have to do when you first come into a new situation, is finding out and evaluating people that you can surround and trust with. And that really was a true key to my success, is having a staff that was working in sync with me. They were the eyes, they were the ears, and they were the people that helped me. And I was the one that really delivered the messages to the individuals or the help that I had. First and foremost, how you have a successful large branch in today's world is having yourself surrounded with very good people.
Throughout your career, did you ever have experiences to where when you reflected on what was happening or as you was evaluating your place in the organization, that you felt like what you were seeing and experiencing was completely opposite of the established vision?
Yes, working in major firms today, not today, but in the past, there was a lot of disconnection with really what the firm was looking for. And when I say what was the firm really looking for, the firm was looking for profitable growth. And how you did it as a leader in that market was really up to you. And so people get disenfranchised, whether it be because of some of their experience with working with home people or their experience with the way clients were treated. So the key to that point is how do I keep them in tune, is helping them get the support that they needed at that time. And the whole point is being connected with your individual advisors, being on top of it. And that's where surrounding yourself with good people, they're going to help you in that process.
Scott, obviously 38 years. Wow. Congratulations, my friend. So proud of you. And it's humbling the experiences that you've gained, the experiences that you played critical parts in for the successes of many, more than likely hundreds of individuals and tens of organizations. As Scott Orr reflects back today on Scott Orr, the leader in that first 5 years of that career in financial services, what's one piece of learning and advice you would give that Scott Orr?
It's staying connected with your people, being there in place daily. I look back, as you said, I look back at successful organizations I worked with or branches I worked with. And there's, as I said, when I was fully connected with the individuals in the branch, was there and present on a regular basis, it was highly successful. I look at the successful branches and complexes that I ran, and that was the commonality. And I actually created another successful situation in Providence, Rhode Island, where I look and reflect at those two situations. Those were the highlights of my career in those two organizations that grew, enjoyed, and were connected with one another, as well as me being fully connected and fully active. It's so easy as a leader in the financial services industry is to lose connection with the most important people. Those were the people that worked with you serving clients. They're most important as financial advisors, their most important people were the people they served. And as a leader, I served my financial advisors. And I think by reflecting back on that, those were two situations that I feel I walk away and feel very proud of and still have relationships with people in those branches. Two other situations, for some reason, there was not a strong connection. And that was my failures. And again, I look back, what could I have done better? And I know it was really spending more time with the individuals, being there to be helpful, not busy running to another place, but spending more time in the main locations.
Was Scott Orr a task manager back in that window of time you're describing?
No, yeah, I really wasn't a taskmaster. What I did is left it up to the individuals. And it was building that successful environment. And it was more about being a Pied Piper of success, telling people, explaining ideas, explaining activities through other people's eyes, what they did and what they accomplished. And that brought the competitive juices up within the financial advisors to try to emulate what they could do better to serve their clients. And that really was truly my focus, was to find those successful individuals that are working and helping their clients and telegraph that to other advisors in the area.
Guy, you talked a bit about finding basically the right people to work in the organization of a financial service company. If you would, share some of your experiences in regards to when hiring someone to come into your organization of the past. Would you look for someone that would come in and make the organization more like themselves, or someone who would come in and become more like the organization as it was at the time?
I think my hiring process was more about my connection with the individual that could share my values, but also have their own. And that would be the added value they bring to the picture. In other words, I wasn't a detail person. I didn't look at the nitty-gritty details. I had people that did that for me. They took care of the details. I looked at the bigger picture. And I actually do that today. And my wife is a detail person, and she looks at the details, even in my personal life, as a help to me. So I look for detailed individuals, people that shared my values, and people that really shared the one value was helping and serving others.
Scott, as we head down the home stretch of this episode, let me ask you, as you reflect throughout your career and the challenges that were very evident in the financial services industry, perhaps with you and your team and organization. How do you see the challenges then versus the challenges you see those leaders having today?
The difference today versus in the past is really not much of a difference. It's still about people. It's still about the trust and working with others today. I think successful leaders in the past that did that are still successful today because it's really building that trust among your people that you work with and serving them on a regular basis. And I think that's the real key. And it's much more challenging today to connect because of the electronic world. Because when I say about connecting with people, it's not about a text, it's not about a email, it's about that personal contact that you have. Sometimes a personal contact on a phone, the voice, where people can feel what you're saying, but you can't really feel from an email or a text. But in today's world, for convenience sakes, people use that and probably use it too much. And I think we're losing that personal touch that we need. I know I need to.
Scott, you hit up on a valid point that if we're not careful as leaders, we try to shortcut leadership. We talked about John Maxwell and his experience, and the number one quote that John has stated is that leadership is influence, no more, no less. It's difficult to influence when you try to shortcut. You're cheapening your value in many ways as an individual. And one of the things I find, to your point, and don't get me wrong, I believe technology has a place. Texting has a place. Social media has a place. Email has a place. But we as human beings and leaders need to drive that place. One of the things that I have found and experienced is it's almost as if we have no patience when we're using social media or we're using a text or an email. And this is where still comes into play for me, because we don't have to respond 1 1/2 or 1.5 seconds after we receive a text. There's value that we may need to take time to figure out how we bring in a response. We as leaders and human beings control that. And I'm just speaking Kevin Smith's philosophy. Even though I've not been perfect at executing that philosophy, I have found when I'm still and I'm reflective and I'm truly serving others at the best of my abilities, I connect and take the time to develop that response, whatever it may be. So I appreciate you going there. And I believe that's a challenge for the future for leaders, because it's simply just too easy to respond 2 seconds after receiving something. When, to your point, we need to lay our heart out in a different manner, because everyone is influenced differently. And part of what we talked about when we started this episode of Leadership Synergized, it's about the hand on the pulse. I found it difficult through text and many times through social media to have the hand on the pulse that I need to have to understand what I need to do to serve.
Kevin, I agree with you 100%. Yes, technology, there is a place for it. I remember the days when we didn't have the computers and the ability to email and the ability to communicate in that fashion, but there were ways that we did utilize the written word for communication, whether it be a memo. But a memo delivered back then was the hand delivered one was more effective, because you touch someone, might have given them a quick summary of it. It was a better understanding instead of someone just reading it in their busy day. Texting today, hey, I'm thinking about you. That's the ways that I could use a text today. But they're going to have to see me once in a while, even though I'm thinking about them. It's like my 2 children, and they're adults, but every day I try to make it a point just to send them a text to let them know I'm thinking about them. And I think as a leader, thinking about doing that on a regular basis with the people you work with and are there to serve.
Well said. I couldn't have said it any better. Scott, we're not going to get off here. I'm not going to let you go without talking about Scott Orr. You've talked about your career. You've talked about a lot of your philosophies and the centerness you have around connection. Where's Scott's purpose at? Where's Scott's bullseye point in regards to utilizing your Maxwell leadership, utilizing your 38-year plus career experience as a leader, where's Scott's value at for others? What's Scott want to do with that?
Kevin, I think a lot about that on a regular basis. Every night I go to bed and ask myself, what did I do today to focus and work on fulfilling that purpose of mine? And that purpose of mine is helping others, helping other leaders, value people, add value, and help people produce extraordinary results. And so I'm still searching for ways to really get in front of more people. I've developed programs. I developed a 12-step recruiting program for leaders and local leaders of how they can develop a culture, how they can work with individuals, but also go find others in the marketplace that would help their current branches grow and become the branch that they see it could be. So I built a 12-step recruiting program, as I said. I do a little bit of recruiting today with one of the individuals I work with as a branch manager that was successful, helping people work with the people that want to help you, the recruiters. I do a little bit of that, helping advisors that might have lost their way where they currently are and might need a change to help them better serve their clients, not just for the paycheck, but for the fulfillment of helping their clients have the ability to put their kids through college, to pay off their mortgages, and to live in retirement the lifestyle that they've become accustomed to.
One other thing that I know personally that you do is work with military personnel at a point to where they're transitioning out of the service into the civilian life with the Honor Foundation. I admire you so much for that, but talk a little bit. You've done that for the past 2 years, and I know in speaking with one or two of your clients myself, you've had such a positive impact there, and I appreciate you for that. But share your experience and what that's all about.
Yeah, I was introduced to the Honor organization that works with special forces individuals that are spent, whether it be 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the service serving our country. And in the special service, I think a lot of people think of the Navy SEALs, they think of the paratroopers, they think of your different services and their special forces that are highly trained and have been protecting our country behind the scenes. These individuals are now having to transition that life into the civilian life. So I have the opportunity to work with them for approximately 12 weeks and help them really find what is their purpose? What do they want to do? Not being told what to do, which they've learned over their last 20 years. They were told what they should do and what they shouldn't, but what do they want to do? So that's a big transition for them. So I've worked with about a half a dozen individuals, help them with taking and simplifying the military terms into, I call, civilian terms, or simple terms, I should say. And it's really a rewarding experience when you see them on that big retirement date that they're ready to transition into the real world. I call it the real world, but it's not the real world, and transition and be able to fulfill that purpose that they want to fulfill.
I actually was fortunate enough to have one of your clients, Adam Black, recently on Leadership Synergized, and many of our viewers may have had a chance to catch those episodes. And he was very complimentary of the work you do for the organization and what you've done for him. Again, thank you for your service in that regard, Scott. And as we wrap up, Scott, what's one piece of advice for leaders who are developing their toolbox, looking perhaps considering where they step to the next level of leadership?
I think it really, how to step to the next level of leadership is focusing on adding value to others, focusing on helping others, listening more and talking less, I think is a real key. And also step back, reflect the successes and the failures that you've had. Look, try to emulate successes you had in the past and what caused those, and the failures of how you could have done something better. I think the time of reflection is very key. Individuals should take that time, and it'd be very helpful to them.
Scott, how do we reach out to you? How do we connect with Scott?
Kevin, I'm sitting here just waiting for that next phone call. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. You can find me through the John Maxwell website. And I know I'm readily available. Just reach out. I believe, and I know my email's on there. Love to hear from some people and get some feedback from this and see if there is something I might be able to do to spend 5 minutes, spend an hour or two, and just see if there's something I can do to add value to them and to their organization and bring more of their people skills forward and use it on a daily basis.
God bless you, my friend. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the vulnerability and for sharing your experiences, both from a personal perspective and from a career perspective. Much value to be gained from us all.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the time and helping me as I seek to go beyond my second half and become and bring significance into my life.
God bless you. I love you, my brother. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Scott and I both thank you for listening, for watching. As we remind you to lead effectively, to live effectively, we do it at our best when we're still. God bless you for joining us. I appreciate you.